Greetings, everybody. I hope you're good. We're having a look at Nasdaq 100, and the last time we spoke about this particular chart, we mentioned that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with a small body and quite a long lower wick. And as I said previously, this candlestick is carrying a lot of liquidity at that level, which is the 6563 level, more or less. And we did say that in the future the market needs to head down to around this level to grab that liquidity. Having said that, the price, or rather price, is still very much far off, and this level is important, but at this point in time it's not that important. We'll only consider it once the market closes below this level over here, which is where we have, as I said previously, this very nice W structure. It's actually an overextended W structure because that first leg is actually much higher than the second leg, right? And it also has a neckline more or less at that level. And just also bear in mind that the neckline of this particular W structure now serves as a very important level, in that it is a resistance level as well. And as much as the anticipation at this point is for the market to push further up, breaking that neckline, and to come back to the neckline to test it and then push further up, what may possibly also happen is that price from where it is may bounce off of this level, only to push further down, right? Only to push further down, right? Why do I say so? That is also because, guys, whenever it comes to these W structures, like over here, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors buy on the second leg of the W structure, and they place their stop losses just below. So what this means, guys, is that we have a lot of money sitting at this level in the form of stop losses. And that's the reason why I say that at this level over here, where we have the neckline of this W structure, what may possibly also happen is that the market at this point may push further down to grab all of those stop losses, and then only to push further up from that point, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind, guys. Before we continue, I just want to add a neckline for that W structure, and just bear with me, guys. We could say more or less that this level over here is the neckline of that W structure. So what else do we see, guys? What else do we see? Let's just zoom in a bit. What else do we see that we should be paying attention to? At this point, I don't see much, so what I'm going to do now is head down to the weekly chart. Let's look. Here we are on the weekly chart. What do we see on the weekly chart? Remember, guys, just to recap, on the monthly chart we spoke about how we have this very big W structure, but now that we are on the weekly chart, we can see that actually we have multiple W structures. Number one, we had this one over here, which is a W structure. Number two, we have this one as well, right, which is also an overextended W structure, because the first leg is much lower than that second leg, right? Another thing that we had, guys, is an inverted head and shoulders pattern at this point, right, with the side being the left shoulder, this being the head, and this side being the right hand shoulder, right? Anyway, what else do we see, guys? Remember also, guys, I mentioned that we have a lot of liquidity sitting at this point. As much as we have that liquidity, just also bear in mind that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bearish candlestick with also a relatively small body and a long lower wick, and that also tells us that there's a lot of money stuck at the bottom in the form of liquidity, and that the market needs to just head down to grab that liquidity at some point or another, right? Let's zoom in a bit. What else do we see here, guys? Another thing that I see is that we have a similar candlestick over here. It is also very much similar to this one, in that it too is carrying a lot of liquidity at that point, and it also tells us that in the future we will see price come back to that level to grab that liquidity. I'm just gonna mark it as well because it's also very much important. Here we go, here we go, here we go, right? Remember, guys, let me just zoom out a bit. Remember, guys, we spoke about how we have this huge W structure, right, and how this level over here is a very strong level of resistance. Why is it a very strong level of resistance? That's because we've had multiple rejections at that level, as you guys can see, right? And what may possibly happen next is that, as I said, we might see price push further down to grab all of the liquidity that's sitting at that level, right? Anyway, just to zoom in, guys, as much as we have, guys, this very big W structure, we also have this W structure over here, which also has a neckline at that point, guys. And we have the W structure, guys, right? Price broke to the upside of that neckline, came back to the neckline to test it, and then push further up, which is at this level over here, right? So a lot of people, or rather a lot of traders and investors, bought at this point, putting their stop losses at this level, and others put their stop losses at that level as well. So what this says, guys, in other words, is that there's a lot of money sitting at this level over here as well as at this level over here, right? So there's a strong chance that we will see price actually move further down to around this level over here, right? Also, if you actually look at this level over here, we can see that the market has given us a very nice M structure, right? And we might potentially see the market, as I said, push further down, right? And this M structure has a neckline more or less at that level. I'm just gonna add the neckline of that M structure as well because it's also very much important. Just bear with me, guys. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Have a look. Right. So what's happening right now, guys, is that a lot of traders and investors are actually waiting for the next candlestick to close as a bearish candlestick, and if it does so at this level, a lot of people will actually be selling, right? Why do I say so? Number one, we have this M structure, right? Number two, we would have a bearish candlestick at that point if it does happen. Number three, price is at a very strong level of resistance, right? So in other people's books, that serves as confirmation that the market should indeed push further down to around at least this level over here, right? Anyway, let's proceed, guys. So what else do we see, guys, on this chart that we should be paying attention to? At this point, I don't see much, although I just also want to point out that I believe that one of the reasons why we saw this candlestick going up to the upside is because of this candlestick over here. This candlestick over here is a bullish candlestick with a small body and quite a long upper wick, and it was carrying a lot of liquidity at that point. So it is my belief that actually this entire candlestick over here was a stop hunt. It was a stop hunt, and we might potentially, as I said, see the market actually push further down. However, having said that, we need at least one bearish candlestick to form at this point, and that'll serve rather as confirmation that we might potentially see the market push further down to around this level over here, right? Anyway, let's proceed, guys. But just also keep in mind, as I said, that we have this W structure and that we might also potentially see price break to the upside of that neckline, come back to the neckline to test it, and at this point we might then look for those potential buying opportunities. And that is also because we have this candlestick over here. It is also a bullish candlestick with a small body and quite a long upper wick, and what that represents is liquidity, guys. And as I've said multiple times, liquidity is actually money that needs to be triggered by the market, right? Here we go, right? At that level, there we go. Let's head down to the daily chart. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. What do we see on the daily chart? In fact, before we proceed, I just want to start off by adding my daily channel. Let's see, how would I add my daily channel in this regard? I would add my daily channel in this manner. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go, there we go, there we go. And just remember, guys, that we just need to ensure that all of the drawings that we do add to our charts are as accurate as can be, just so that when we do ultimately execute, our execution is also very much accurate, right? So there we go, guys. There we go, there we go, there we go, right? So what do we see on the daily chart? Just to recap, guys, remember, on the weekly chart, we spoke about how we have this structure over here, and I said that a lot of traders and investors are actually waiting for price at this level to close as a bearish candlestick, and then at that point they will be looking to sell, right? So what else do we see, guys? What else do we see? Another thing that I see, guys, is that we have another W structure at this point, and it also has a neckline at that level, right? And you know, guys, that whenever it comes to these structures, we want to see price break to the upside of that neckline, come back to the neckline to test it, and at this point is where we normally look for those potential buying opportunities, right? I'm just gonna add a neckline for that W structure. Just bear with me. Let's have a look. Right. So we could say that this level over here, more or less, is the neckline. And just remember, necklines are not lines; they're actually areas, right? They're actually areas and not lines, right? So even if price from where it is comes back to around, let's say, this level, and then continues to push for that, we could still say that price came back to the neckline, even though I've put my line at this level over here. Just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Anyway, let's proceed, guys. So what else do we see? Let's have a look. Another thing I see that is also very much interesting is that we have this candlestick. It is also a bullish candlestick with a relatively small body and quite a long upper wick. And as I've said, that's liquidity at the top. It's a liquidity candlestick. And I'm just going to mark it as well. And what this tells me is that, guys, as much as a lot of traders and investors are really, anticipating, or rather waiting for the market to give a reversal at this point, what we may see, and especially on the lower time frames, is that the market may push slightly further up to trigger that liquidity that's sitting up here, and then push further down, right? Another thing that motivates for price actually pushing further up to around this level is that we have at this point a triple top, right, or a double top. And when it comes to these triple tops or double tops, what happens, as I've said, guys, previously, is that a lot of traders and investors sell on that last leg, right? And they place their stop losses just above. So there is a lot of money sitting at this level over here. There's a lot of money sitting at this level. And as much as the anticipation at this point is for the market to push further down and at least to this level over here, which is the neckline of this W structure, what may possibly also happen, as I've said, and especially on the lower time frames, is that the market may, push further up to trigger all of those stop losses and then move further down, perhaps to this level over here, where we have, as I said, the neckline of this W structure. So at this point in time, guys, the market is very, very choppy, in my humble opinion. We've got a lot of M and W formations all over the show, but as far as buying opportunities, or rather selling opportunities, go at this point, I don't see any opportunities. But from here, let's head down to the H4 chart. Here we are on the H4 chart, guys. Let's have a look. I'm just gonna start off by fixing my channel just to make sure that it is as accurate as can be. Let's have a look. Just bear with me, guys. There we go. And this is the neckline of our W structure, right? And let's zoom in. Let's see. So what else do we see, guys, on this chart? On this chart, guys, I really don't see much, although we can see that in as far as the H4 chart goes, the market, especially at this point, is in an upward trajectory, right? We can see that. And just to recap, guys, remember on the daily chart we spoke about, if I can just zoom out, how we have this huge M structure, and how a lot of people are actually waiting for a bearish candlestick to form either on the daily chart on this point, or rather at this point, as well as on the weekly chart, in order for them to continue to sell, right? However, in as far as selling opportunities go, at this point I really don't see any, but I would love to see price actually move further up. And remember, guys, I spoke about how we have that candlestick at this point that's carrying all of that liquidity at that level, and how we have a lot of stop losses that are sitting sorry about that, that are sitting at that point. I would love to see, when the market opens, price actually moving further up to around that level, which is over here, more or less. Just bear with me. Which is over here. At that point is where I may potentially look for selling opportunities. And that is because, guys, as I said, number one, we have this huge M structure, right? This would be the first leg, and this would be the second leg. Number two, we can see that the market is a very strong level of resistance, right? As we've had multiple rejections at that point. Number three, remember also, guys, that we have a lot of liquidity sitting at that point in the form of that liquidity candlestick. And number four, guys, remember also I mentioned how we have this triple top over here. Let me just actually drop it properly. We have this triple top over here, or we could say it's a double top, right? And I said to you guys that whenever it comes to these formations, such as the triple top or double top, a lot of traders and investors sell on the second leg, and they place their stop losses just above, right? So what this says, guys, as I've said, is that there's a lot of money sitting in around that area. And on the smaller time frames, myself personally, I would love to see the market actually hit up to stop hunt all of those liquidity points, and then only push further down, at least to this level. So I would say, guys, that if you do indeed find an entry in and around this area over here, your first take profit should be the level over here, which is the neckline of this W structure. Why do I say this level? Remember, it's also a very strong level of support, and that is because we've had multiple rejections at that level, right? That's it, guys. And as far as my analysis goes, I know it was a bit rough and a bit choppy. Nonetheless, that's the analysis. Just let me know if you have any further questions, and just remember to like and subscribe. Peace out, guys.